Hey Stampers! I almost said happy Friday. Feels like it's gotta be Friday to me, but anyway, it's Wednesday. Welcome to another Maker Mornings with Meg. I'm Meg Loven, and this is the LovenStamps Facebook or YouTube channel, or my blog if you're watching later there. So I'm glad you're here, and I am excited to share a project with you. So we are going to use the Pansy Patch stamp set, which we are going to stamp today instead of just doing die cutting. But even more exciting is this trick that I'm going to show you with the Tailor Made Tags Dies. So this is a really great trick that you're going to use on lots of different projects to make all kinds of custom sized rectangles. So for example, you can see that this little tag, so this is the largest here of the square tags. There's also some beveled or rounded edge tags, but this trick works best with a square edge. So we have the largest of the square edge tags, and we're going to use it to put a edge on a large piece of designer series paper all the way around here, okay? So this is gonna be a trick that you're gonna wanna keep in mind. Very, very helpful. And hello to everybody, Margie and Sue and Donna and Carol and Debbie. And I'm so glad you guys are here this morning. And I hope that Wisconsin is still beautiful. So, well, I mean, I know it's still beautiful. I hope it's pretty and sunny, so. All right, so let us grab our pieces. We are going to feature, again, the Pansy Petal Designer Series paper, which, do I have all the patterns to show you? I do. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so here are the 4 front patterns. So with the pretty pieces and of course those pansies that you can die cut so easily. And then here are the back sides of those papers, which are just as delightful. And actually today we're gonna use 2 of them. We're gonna use this green stripe and this peach papaya or pale papaya gingham for our project. All right, guys, ready to get stamping? Yes, we would love to come, Sue. Hey, Marcy. All right. Oh, and Cindy, we got a bunch of people jumping on. Melinda, good to see you guys. Okay, I'm flipping you down here so that we can see what is going on. And the pieces that I'm starting with here are the, oops, hold on a second, sorry. There we go. The pieces that I'm starting with are and you guys are all like crooked. There we go. The card base, which is Fresh Freesia, which I adore. It is one of the new in colors, and I'm just gonna start off by folding that in half. And this is where we're going to get the color for our pansies from. And then we have these little pieces of the designer series paper. Okay, so I'm gonna bring my tags back in here. And if you're looking for stuff that features the new in colors, so we're using 4 of the 5 here today, the Pansy Petals paper is perfect and full of peas because it really features these new in colors. But you might be wondering how we're gonna turn this into a stretched out piece of designer series paper. So here's the answer. This piece of designer series paper is cut to 3.5 inches wide and 3 inches tall. And 3.5 wide is important because that is the size that is going to fit with our die here that doesn't include the little tag, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this here, I'm gonna flip it over so it actually cuts, and I'm gonna run this through my Stamp and Cut and Emboss machine here on the small version so that you can kind of see what we're doing. So I'll set this up. And of course, when you use this, you're gonna put that plate on the bottom and then one of the cutting plates. And then my favorite trick for holding things in place is a piece of washi tape. I'm going to line this up and drop some washi tape on there and then crank this through, okay? You might notice that I staggered my plates. I always find that it's just a little easier to start when they're not all lined up perfectly. If you're a perfect lineup person, good for you. I find it easier this way. Okay, so now here is what we have. We have this little tiny strip, not tiny, I guess it's about 1 inch. And then we have our piece here with our tag. So now I'm gonna take my die, I'm gonna flip it around 180 degrees, I'm going to wiggle it back and forth just a little bit until the grooves fall into place, and I'm gonna check the back. And I did this same trick when we made the tag for our birthday card. This was the pieced pansies one with the rounded corners here. But this one is the straight corners one, and I'm gonna run this through again, and I have this one die cut already. So I have this here. So now you can see that instead of having one side missing the stitched lines, I now have all 4 stitched sides. Now what about this piece here? I'm gonna get rid of this little fragment there. I'm gonna put this through again like this, and it's going to give me stitching on 2 of the sides, and then I'm gonna flip the die, remember, 180 degrees, and run it through this direction, and that is going to give me stitching on all 4 sides. So now I have 2 pieces here that are going to come together to form our stretched designer series paper with the stitching all the way around, even though our tag is only 2 inches wide. It is like magic, I tell you. So cool, right? So definitely a trick that you'll want to use. Oh, and I didn't show you the last part. We're going to add the seam here and go ahead and set this up like this. So now we have a stretched piece of designer series paper. So really, really cool trick to keep in mind that makes the most of these dies. So like I said, they're a great thing to add to your collection, and they're new in the catalog that just came out at the beginning of May. Gosh, that was this month. This has been a busy month. All right, so let's put this together. I am going to go ahead and pop some adhesive here on the back. Oh, there it is, I already had it out. Some adhesive here on the back, and I'm gonna pop it right at the edge of the top and the bottom here. And then I'm going to use my grid paper to, which is straight now, my grid paper to line up these edges. Hello, Rhode Island Cindy. And so since my paper is square with the grid paper, it makes it so much easier to get this lined up here with my additional piece. I'm gonna try not to stick it to the paper. So I've just stuck it to itself like that, more paper. And then again, I'm gonna put this one here on my grid paper lined up, and then stick this one down right next to it, okay? So now we have an extended piece of paper, and I'm gonna come back with my Stampin' Dimensionals, and I'm going to add some Stampin' Dimensionals. I'm gonna put some right there. Oops, I just pulled it apart. Okay, let's double check. First aid here, first aid for cards. I'm gonna put some dimensionals right there at that intersection so that it doesn't like pop down and stick to the table. You could also use your multi-purpose liquid adhesive, the green lid glue, to give a really good like fine line at the edge to kind of hold those pieces together. So, all right, then you wouldn't have to add quite so many now. Okay, and then this piece is going to go here on our card. All right, so pretty cool to be able to add those fun stitched lines, right? You guys loving this trick? Definitely a fun thing to add because those stitch lines are so popular right now. So we use this die to make this giant piece of designer series paper. Okay, so now back to our pansies. So here they are. I'm going to go ahead and stamp our pansy on some basic white, and I'm going to use the largest pansy here and go ahead and fresh freesia for our color to match our background. And I just stuck my thumb in my ink pad, no problem. That's what Stampin' Chamois are for. I'll just clean that off there. There we go. By the way, if your chamois looks like this, like totally inked up and messy, this is okay. This is what it's supposed to look like, okay? When your stamp gets, like you clean your stamp and then you stamp it on scratch paper and it doesn't come clean, then it's time to go wash this in the sink. You just run it under cool water and squish it until it water runs clear. But that coloring and stuff on there is a sign of a good stamper. It means you're using your stuff. So, all right. In case you were worried, right? I know sometimes we like everything to look crisp. I have our 2 pansy stamps. I find that the easiest way to use this one is to do the background first so that I can see where I am aiming for. So I'm gonna stamp off once and then stamp here on my project. And we have this really pretty light freesia color. And then I'm gonna take my second one and go ahead and line this up, stamp there. And so now we have our two freesia pansy pieces right over the top of each other. This little bib in the center, you can leave open, you can color if you want. I'm gonna do mine in freesia, but the light version. So I'm gonna stamp off once and then add that inside. And then we have our next two little pieces. We have this little beard and little face here and this little nose to go on. And for those, I'm actually going to use Evening Evergreen. I've talked a few times about using this as a fabulous neutral. So like in place of black, in place of gray. And so we're gonna use that here instead because it's gonna match our designer series paper and our greeting. So I'm gonna pop that there in the center. And honestly, it almost looks black. And then I have our pale papaya, which is going to give us a little complement here. So right now, this pansy is pretty cute on here. But when we add this pale papaya, watch for a second, because it's going to really, suddenly it just like grabs onto our card base. So without the pale papaya, there we go. It sits on top and it's pretty, but with the pale papaya, it's like one integrated unit. So a great way to add those pieces together. Now to go with this, we also need a leaf, and there are a couple different leaves in this stamp set to choose from. So I'm gonna grab this one, and this time I'm gonna do the top first. So I've got our Evening Evergreen, and then I'm gonna grab Soft Succulent, which is number 4 out of the 5 in colors. And this one I'm gonna stamp off too, because I just want a really nice light color. And I'm gonna layer that on top. So now we have our pansies ready to die cut. I'm gonna close up some of these ink pads so we don't have an inky mishap, but we still need Evening Evergreen because we're using it as our neutral. And dies, where'd they go? Here they are. So remember, there are 2 kinds of dies in this set. It's almost like 2 sets of dies in one. There are the paper piecing dies, which are linked. The video description, or the video description for this video that you're watching has a link in the description for the other projects that use pansy petals that I've shared, I think. Anyway, so that's these dies here, these solid ones. And then there's also these open dies, because the open dies are ones that we're going to use to do our die cutting here. And I always like to design these projects because I want to make sure that you guys have a chance to use what you've got for more than one thing. And so when I design my monthly tutorials, it's always with a suite of supplies. So these dies, these stamps, a limited color palette, and so forth, so that you can make a number of cards. So the one we're doing today, this paper piecing card, the faux buckle card that I showed the other day, and of course the sweet gift bag, these guys, the ombre gift bags. So you'll know that when you have the set of supplies, you can make all those things, because I don't, I keep the supplies narrow for those, just to make it easy for you to make the most of your supplies. So, okay, so dies here are going to die cut these, which I have, through the magic of television, done already. Ta-da! And that gives us our pieces to go together. And then we're gonna mount these here on our card like this. But I felt like this was just a little bit busy, the way the pansy and the gingham kind of work together. And I wanted to give this a better like focal point element. So I grabbed a piece of pale papaya cardstock, which is gonna even further like intensify that pale papaya in our card, or further complement or highlight, I guess. And the Label Me Lovely punch, which is the other part of all of those 4 projects that I showed you. Actually, 3 of the 4, we used that Label Me Lovely punch. And this is going to go here, and it just highlights our focal point here for our pansy. It really helps to like make that an important part of our card, so it's just visually strong. And then I think we need an embellishment, so I'm gonna add in some of the Soft Succulent open weave ribbon, and this comes in all 5 of the new in colors. Needed to grab my Sandy. Hey, Sandy. Lost the small piece for the center. Oh, yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this little tiny stamp, make sure you are careful with it, that you don't lose it. And then also the dies for it. Although the dies for that one are like 3 to a shot, which is kind of nice. So you can go ahead and cut more than one of those at a time. All right, so I have our soft succulent ribbon here, and we're going to add this as an embellishment to our panel. So I'm gonna go ahead and first put our 2 pieces here together. And the trick that I like to use for putting those together is often to line them up where I want them and then just pop a dimensional right at that intersection so that they stay. And then I'm going to just sort of do a cute little ribbon slash there. And I think about like that. And flip this over to the back side. And then this is where the edges of our Stampin' Dimensionals come in so handy. Carol, I'm glad you like the detail. All right, so I'm gonna cut a piece that's a little bit longer, and then this is going to hold our ribbon in place as it stretches all the way across there. Okay, so now our ribbon's not going anywhere and it's held on exactly where I want it. So let's see, I'll go ahead and peel the backings off of these and get our flower part done here. And then we have a greeting to add still. Okay. All right, so there is a really fun pansy element that you could use on lots of things. Honestly, if you're making a scrapbook page or all kinds of stuff, oops, it would be a great extra accent. All right, so now, wrong way. I need our greeting, and the other day I showed you some tips about paper cutting. I think, was it on this video? I think it might have been on the faux buckle video that I was telling you to save those little scraps. So I have my little baggie of basic white scraps, and I'm going to pull in the greeting. We're gonna do thank you, which I thought I had on a block already, but maybe not. So you can see inside my stamp case. It's like looking inside my closet. So all of the pieces that I hang on to, you can see the paper piecing ones, I keep there on a, in a little clear envelope. And I'm gonna put my thank you down here and grab a block, which I have handy, and mount that. Okay, and then I said earlier, Evening Evergreen makes a terrific neutral. So I'm gonna go ahead and stamp that. Now you could use that same stitched edge trick if you wanted to add stitched edging to your greeting, but I'm gonna go ahead and let this one be not stitched and trim it down just a tiny bit. And let's see, it's a little crooked. It's not making me happy. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna trim off just a teeny bit more there. It's so dangerous to start trimming, right? Okay, good. And then I'm gonna take this and put a Stampin' Dimensional on the back, but fortunately it's like a bag of scrap, right? So if I wanted to do it over again, I could do it as many times as I liked. All right, and then this is going to pop here on our card, and on the back of this one, we'll go with a couple Stampin' Dimensionals. Now, I have a tip to share with you because if you are ordering at least $50 from my Stampin' Up store during the month of May, then you're gonna get this card as a card kit in the mail. So all the pieces for this, which means the pansy will be die cut for you when it arrives. So here is my tip for that. When you have a piece that is pre-die cut, so it would look like this in the kit that you would get, and you still have a couple days, it's only the 26th, so if you haven't ordered yet for May, you can still do that. But you would get this piece here, and sometimes it can be a little bit daunting to try to stamp on a shape that's really detailed and pre-die cut. So let me tell you what I found to be the easiest way to handle that. So what I would do is go ahead and ink up my stamp. Remember, I'm gonna stamp off, so I'll stamp off once. And then the tip is to stamp upside down. So instead of bringing my stamp down this way, I'm gonna put my stamp side up. I'm gonna flip my die cut to the back. And then I am going to get it lined up around there. And you can kind of squish with your hand, but honestly, it's safest to just go ahead and use another block to press down and make sure you get a good image. And that way you have a really easily stamped perfect image on your pre-die cut pieces. So the card kits for this month are the stitched edge one, and I'm not gonna do all your tag tricks for you. So if you wanna add the stitching, you can. Honestly, it's really cute without stitching too. Just that extra detail is fun. But this is one of the two that will come in the mail, and this is the other that will come in the mail. So this fun tag ombre project with the ombre stamped pansies and the tag and so forth. So all these pieces will come to you. And then you also, of course, are gonna get the PDF for the paper pieced pansy card and the faux buckle card. So lots of good possibilities there. All right, so are you guys ready to tackle your Wednesday now? A little dose of stamping to kind of get us started this morning, a little dose of creativity. I'm glad you guys are here. And pansies are gorgeous. If you haven't seen them yet in their sort of native home, do pansies grow everywhere? I wasn't quite certain like how far they span. So they're really, I'm in the Midwest in Illinois, sort of central US. So they actually grow really well here during this time of year. We're kind of getting into heat, so they're starting to like be a little bit less, but I don't know. So like our Australian friends and in European, are pansies popular in Europe? So I was curious, but anyway, here they are in their pansy glory in the book. So if you want to check those out, they're page 28 and 29, and you can always get good ideas from the catalog too, from different kinds of for different kinds of projects there. So I use them a lot for my inspiration. So make sure you remember this trick for using your tags and have fun with your pansy cards. And if you have any questions, as always, let me know. The supply list for our projects is in the video description here. And I will look forward to seeing you guys again on Friday for another project. So happy stamping. Have a wonderful day, guys, and thanks for spending some time with me.